If you bench press less than 3 plates, I'm willing to bet that you make one of these mistakes. If you do, I'll tell you exactly how to fix it so that you can bench 3 plates and above in no time. I made all of these same mistakes and my bench press got stuck between 100 kilos and 120 kilos for years. Now I can bench press 160 kilos and I've coached hundreds of guys to improve their bench press strength. If you don't have time to watch this video and apply all of the concepts, click the top link in the description. I'll write your bench press program for you, or the second link if you just want some good bench press programs to go and follow. So let's get straight into it. Mistake number 1 is not treating the bench press as a full body lift. Too many of you guys just lie down on the bench, really relax, you've got no arch in the back, your legs are out in front of you, really loose, and then you're surprised that your bench press doesn't go up. All of the best bench pressers in the world, the strongest guys, they all treat the bench press as a full body lift. They use their legs effectively. They use leg drive to literally add kilos to the bar. And if you're one of those guys who doesn't use leg drive and you ever do like a feet up bench press or a Larson press and it's no different to your regular bench press, that tells me that you're not using leg drive at all. So using leg drive properly benefits our bench press in so many ways. Like it reinforces our arch so that we can reduce range of motion. It improves efficiency because some of that force from your legs is directly going into the bar so that we can lift more weight. And it just gives us like a stable and strong base to press from. So here's exactly how to improve your leg drive so that you can treat the bench press as a full body lift. So I want you to, when you set up for the bench press, I want you to think about getting your feet as wide and as far back underneath you as you possibly can whilst keeping the heels down on the floor. So literally lie down, take your grip on the bar, your feet should be quite relaxed at this point, and then I want you to first slide your feet as wide as possible, so keep going until you physically can't get them any wider, then slide them underneath you towards your shoulders as far back as possible. Again, should be really tight, it should be uncomfortable or even like painful. But don't worry, you don't need to be comfortable to press big weights. You need to be in a stable, strong position. So again, get those feet as wide and as far back as possible. Really fight to shove the heels down. Once you're in this position, I want you to think about pushing back with the feet. So imagine that if the weight wasn't holding you down, you would literally slide off the head of the bench because you're pushing so hard with the feet, okay? Now, once you've got this position, you are going to see a massive increase in bench press efficiency. You'll feel so much more stable on the bench, and you'll be able to press in a much better bar path because the feet will be reinforcing this good back and then up bar path, okay? So sort your leg drive first things first, treat the bench press as a full body lift, and then see how much your bench press will quickly transform. Mistake number 2, and this is by far the biggest mistake I see, is not bench pressing often enough. So many of you guys are benching once or twice a week and then wondering why you don't have an exceptionally strong bench press. Every other sport understands that frequency is important. If you want to be a good athlete in any other sport, tennis, football, rugby, basketball, you'll practice the sport multiple times a week. Like, do you think LeBron James was on the court like once or twice a week? Of course not, because he understood that frequent practice leads to exceptional results. Now, you're probably hearing that and thinking, yeah, but I can't bench press like 3 or 4 times a week. That's going to destroy my shoulders. That will be overtraining. I can't do that. That's because you have this view that training needs to be hard to be effective, and it doesn't. Hard and effective training are not like synonymous things. Like, you need to divorce those ideas in your head. Effective training is not just training as hard as possible. And if you understood this, you would understand that you can bench press more frequently without it being super hard and destroying your shoulders. We need to find a dose of bench pressing that allows you to recover and get stronger. For most of you watching that is going to be between 2 and 4 times a week. In my experience, across the board for the guys I've coached, it's been 3 or 4 times a week has led to the best results in terms of the bench press. I currently bench 4 times a week, and 1 or 2 of my bench press sessions are so unbelievably light, and you would see them and you'd probably think, what's the point of doing that? But it's more stimulus that bridges the gap between my heavier exposures. So one of my days is literally like a tempo bench where I work up to a top set of 3 at like RPE 6 with like 120 kilos. And I'm a 160 kilo bencher. Like, that's such a light day, but it keeps me ticking over to the next heavier day. You can think of it as just like greasing the groove and keeping your technique sharp, ready for the next exposure. Because in order to be really strong at the bench press, you need to be really skilled and really proficient at the lift, and that requires you to do it multiple times a week. Now, A good kind of analogy I can give to explain that process for you is, let's imagine that in order for your bench press to make progress week to week, you need to accumulate 100 points of benching, or like 100 XP of benching throughout an entire week in order to get stronger, right? If you're currently benching once or twice a week, that means you need to get like all 100 of those points on one day. Or if you're benching twice a week, you need 50 and 50. That's quite a lot of like stress you need to accumulate in 1 or 2 training days. Because of that, it's really hard, it's really high volume, and therefore it's hard to recover from, and you can't bench very often. How about if we split up your benching into 4 days instead of 2? Now you only need to accumulate 25 XP or 25 points per session, so each session can be more manageable. And because of that, because you're doing 4 days, the quality of the work is better because there's less to do. The skill practice is improved because you're benching more times a week, and you can actually recover from it because each dose is smaller and therefore easier to recover from. So it's just a win-win overall. So if you're currently benching like once or twice a week and it's quite hard and quite heavy, I would scale that down, take it from like 50 points down to 25 and spread it out across 3 or 4 sessions. And come back to me once you've tried that and you see the beginner gains you get all over again, because benching 3 or 4 times a week will sharpen up your technique so much and you're going to see your strength drastically improve. And if you're watching this and you're a bit confused, like how do I even incorporate that into a program? Like if I'm benching 4 times a week, where do I squat and deadlift and stuff like that? Top link in the description. I'll be your personal strength coach and I'll write your program for you. Or a second link if you just want some good strength training programs to go and follow that have you benching 3 or 4 times a week. Now, the third and final mistake that I see most intermediate guys make is they grip the bar too narrow or too wide. They just take a really random grip and they don't really think about efficiency. So I think that some guys, like, they just watch their favorite lifters, or they just literally grip the bar and they don't even think about like what is the best grip for them. The problem is you end up with loads of guys having a grip that is excessively wide or excessively narrow. Now, if you've got an excessively wide grip, it's not going to be the strongest grip for you. One, because your shoulders probably won't tolerate it because you don't have a big arch to support that wide grip. And then at the bottom, you're going to end up like chicken wings like this. Your pecs are going to be really stretched out, so you don't have much leverage at the bottom. You'll feel a bit unbalanced as well because your grip's so wide. So that wouldn't be ideal. Then on the other end of that spectrum, some guys will take a really narrow grip, and that's not ideal because the range of motion's so long. You get a moment arm because the joints aren't stacked, and the triceps end up being the limiting factor because there's so much elbow flexion at the bottom of the lift. So what should you do instead to find your ideal grip width? So what I want you to do is I want you to take a grip that produces a vertical forearm when viewed from the front and the back. So this is going to be our starting point. So take a grip that produces this kind of angle in the forearm, okay? So the wrists are stacked on top of your elbows, okay? So that's our starting point for the grip width. And I'll show an example on screen to illustrate. Once we've got that starting point, we can then experiment with closer and wider grips to kind of identify the best grip for you. So let's say you were benching 4 times a week using my recommended setup. We're going to have the main grip is this one with the stacked joints, and we're going to have a primary bench press day where we use this stacked forearm grip. We're going to have a secondary bench press where we use that same stacked forearm grip. Then we're going to have a close grip bench and a wide grip bench day, okay? And basically what we're going to do is we're going to monitor our strength across these different grip widths, and we're going to see which one feels best. So if you run this setup and you find that your close grip is feeling amazing and the other ones aren't feeling too great, you can experiment even further with that close grip. We could go even closer again and see if that feels stronger. Or if the wider grip feels better, we can go even further in that direction. And after a few blocks of this approach, you'll be able to kind of work out which is the strongest grip. Once you've landed on that, just go all in, do all 4 of your bench press days with that new grip, and then that becomes your like primary or competition grip width. And now you've found your ideal grip width for you. So I really hope this video helps you to improve your bench press. These are by far like the top 3 common mistakes that I see in intermediate lifters who can't yet bench press 3 plates and above. I've coached hundreds of guys to improve their bench press, so I really hope these tips kind of help you to learn from my and all my clients' mistakes so that you can get stronger in half the time it took us and learn from all of our mistakes. If you want a free program to go and run, I have a video here that literally gives you a free program that incorporates bench press at 4 times a week. I think it's 3 or 4 times a week, so go run that one. You can adjust it as needed. Again, if you want me to write your program, click one of the links in the description. If you have any questions, comments, and stuff like that, post them in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.